Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we have more news. And it seems that the news today, well, is about Portland again. Now, I've been saying that Portland, San Francisco, and all these woke liberal cities are going completely, third world, or I guess you would say a third world state, because they're not doing good. They're losing businesses. People are leaving. There's mass exodus and stuff like that. Now, you may hear some reports here and there that all the restaurants are leaving. Well, sort of, kind of, in a way, but it's not exactly 100% accurate. But they are leaving, and there is some issues here. Here is the first restaurant that is currently leaving, and it's called the Cracker Barrel. And it's not doing too great. Now, the Cracker Barrel gives some stupid examples or stupid reasons onto why it's actually leaving. That's not 100% the reason. Now, I do know that some businesses have stopped due to the pandemic and stuff like that, but that is not the entire reason why. Take a look.
Saying see ya to most of Oregon. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko. Today, Cracker Barrel, the roadside chain known as much for its country store as its chicken fried steak, abruptly shut down 3 out of its 4 Oregon locations, 2 of those in the Portland metro area. Catherine Cook caught up with customers and now former workers, all who were caught off guard.
Outside Cracker Barrel in Tualatin, the signs took customers by surprise Monday.
They closed. There's a sign on the door. So that's sad.
Peggy Irvine didn't know what to make of the sudden closure. Neither did Jordan Nursky, who worked here.
We really knew anything was happening, and then just out of the blue this morning, just got a phone call, and I'm like, yeah, well, we got a team meeting.
At the Cracker Barrel in Beaverton,
I'm really upset. I drove especially to have something to eat, and they closed.
Another surprise closure.
When you're raised in the South and there's no good Southern cooking around here, I didn't know if the Yankees could support good Southern cooking, and apparently not.
Cracker Barrel shared a statement with us. It read in part, "We are saddened that we have been unable to overcome the impact the pandemic had on our business and have made the difficult decision to close the Beaverton, Tualatin, and Bend locations. The decision to close a store is never one we take lightly, and our focus right now is in assisting our impacted employees during this transition."
I thought that places here that made it through the pandemic would still make it through, and Cracker Barrel's pretty popular, so that was surprising.
Back in 2017, about 100 people lined up for the Cracker Barrel's grand opening in Tualatin, the chain's first on the West Coast. Irvine remembers it stayed busy for years.
Tons of people. You couldn't get in for, like an hour and a half wait.
But times have changed. Last August, Cracker Barrel closed its Jansen Beach location. At the time, employees told us it was due to security issues.
There's a lot of theft, people on drugs.
And restaurants in general have struggled.
It's a tough industry, big time.
Rachel Martin works at a restaurant near Cracker Barrel. She's sad for those who've lost jobs and customers who've lost part of their normal.
It was sad to see them pulling up, getting out of their walkers and walking up to the door, and then, So I've just been watching that all day from next door, and I'm just like, oh, sad.
There is still one Cracker Barrel left in Oregon. It's in Medford, and corporate tells us it's staying open. Now, besides the 3 closures in Oregon, Cracker Barrel also has closed a restaurant in St. Louis today, and the chain has more than 660 locations across 45 states. David?
A lot of stories, a lot of memories in a lot of places.
Now, I like how the old lady says, oh, it's surprising that it's closed down or whatever. It's due to the pandemic and stuff like that. Well, you're not reading between the lines here, because that's not really the reason why. Your stores are closing and your Walmart is closing due to a crime. You have to start realizing that maybe it's something more than just meets the eye. Of course, she's kind of telling what she's been told from the actual organized store itself or restaurant, but that's not really the reason. As I did a report before, there were all the Walmarts in Portland have permanently closed. They're not coming back. And now it seems that all these stores, except for 3 of these Cracker Barrel, except for 1 Cracker Barrel store restaurant, is staying. And that's not a good sign, because I think that one is also going to close. It's just a matter of time, in my personal opinion. But yeah, I think that what this lady is, she's being lied to by the actual restaurant in itself, and it doesn't seem to realize that maybe everything is closing because of all the crime and theft and stuff that's happening. especially considering the fact that one guy literally just came out and said the theft and all these other issues were here, and she seems to ignore that. And then she absolutely seems to refuse to put two and two together, be like, theft, crime, security issues, stores leaving, what could be the cause? It's like you have to put two and two together and understand why. Well, here is an example of what's really going on and why it's being like this.
Now, more than 3 years after it began, the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic continue to hurt local restaurants. Cracker Barrel announcing closures in Beaverton and Tualatin. And now Portland's oldest Jewish deli closing at the end of this month. Thanks for joining us for KOIN 6 News at 6. I'm Elizabeth Din.
I'm Jeff Gianola. Jenny Young live now with what needs to happen for restaurants to turn things around. Jenny?
Jeff, the president of the Restaurant and Lodging Association, says that we will continue to see restaurant closures throughout 2023. But he is optimistic, he says, because people are still opening restaurants.
He was like, oh, no.
It
sad.
It sucked, yeah.
Kobe Hansen and Anya Walker among countless Portlanders sad to say goodbye to Kornblatts Deli. For them, it's not just the bagels and lox, Reuben sandwiches, and the New York-style deli charm that make this place special.
It was actually one of the first places we went to when we started dating.
Yeah.
Kornblatts opened on Northwest 23rd 3 decades ago. The current owner tells me business never fully recovered from the impacts of the pandemic and says the number of people shopping and dining in this neighborhood has decreased drastically due to homelessness and crime.
We have to do so much more to create the sense of safety and security and really keep this practice of criminal acts where we're just breaking random windows in small business shops across the region. I mean, that just has to stop.
Jason Brandt, president and CEO of the Oregon Restaurant and Lodging Association, says business owners, especially in the downtown core, are desperate for a visible police presence. He met with Governor Kotek today and tells me they discussed getting more officers on the streets.
We have to increase capacity to make sure that people can get through the academy process so that the officers can get out on the streets and make the difference.
Brandt says since the COVID-19 shutdowns, out of the roughly 10,000 restaurants across the state, about 2,000 have closed. However, he says there's been more than 1,200 open, leaving him optimistic about the future.
As long as we can continue to keep our eye on the prize and focus on these areas that could take us off track and result in more lost business, we're going to have more and more consumer demand over the next decade.
All right, so Kornblatts last day open March 30th, but the owner of Henry Higgins Bagels, a local favorite in Portland, opening up the location in that space, and it will open on May 1st. Reporting live, Jenny Young, KOIN 6 News.
Yes, so more restaurants are, I guess, opening. I guess one, and how many are there leaving? And we have actual evidence of this. Stores and what have you are closing. Walmart just closed. Your biggest, cheapest place to get stuff is gone. It's permanently gone. It's not coming back. And you have in the people of Portland, people in Portland are legitimately leaving your city, like your state in general. What's going on? Obviously, I know Portland is not a state, it's an actual city, but they're leaving Oregon. They're no longer coming back. So I don't know where you're going with this, because you're hopeful for something that's not going to happen. It's like it's sipping a whole bunch of copium. It's like it's good. It's going great. No, buddy, it's declining, and it's declining because of your horrible policies that are being enacted into your state. And the one thing that one guy was saying specifically that was like, well, the crime. Well, guess what? We have other issues here that is just the police. Your area does not support police for the most part. I mean, it does now because of other issues, but it's a hollowed out shell. Portland business owners say they're fleeing crime-ridden dim-led city in a mass after it turned from the crown jewel of the West Coast into criminal-run city. Yeah, so it's not doing as well as people are saying. Like, we'll just go over briefly because I kind of like already went through some of this stuff here. Several big name employers such as Umpqua Bank and have been among the mass exodus carried out by owners who have been taking issue with the rising crime levels and homelessness and the city's failure to address it. Exactly. We have Umpqua Bank gone. We have there's the homeless here. We have the Rains, this Portland clothing store, which was one of many to permanently shutter in recent months after facing 15 break-ins that left it in financial struggles. So we have that's going on, and what have you. So these stores are actively leaving. They're not just staying here or wanting to or having issues. No, you're having restaurants obviously cause massive mayhem. Where you're not dealing with the crime. And what we're talking about here is this. We have Portland among U.S. cities adding funds back into the police. Among rallying cries were to fund the police, a call for elected officials to reallocate some law enforcement funding elsewhere. In June 2020, the Portland City Council and the mayor answered by cutting millions from the police budget. Now, a year and a half later, officials partially restored the cut funds. So, my guy, if you're wanting them to do anything with the police fund, or to do with the police, you're going to have to give them all their funds back, because the people have actively went out and would not wanted the police. The own voters did this, by the way. This is not something that is like, that's a thing. And these people are getting what they're voted for. They're getting what they protested for. So now they're facing the consequences. And now their city is turning into absolute shit because of their own ideologies and their own policies. And I don't feel bad for them because they deserve what they get. I'm no longer playing nice to people that, actively want to ruin their lives, ruin other people's lives, and advocate for things that ruins everybody else around them. I'm just not doing it. And I'm not going to feel sorry for people that constantly vote to ruin their lives and destroy themselves. It's no longer playing nice. And then we have this. As we're seeing here, William Week, Portland's declining population. Portland's population is on the decline after decades of growth. This past year, Portland University's reported Multnomah County has lost more than 2,300 people, and a trend we've been seeing since 2020. Technically, it's been going on since 2018. It's just increasing since. It probably had a massive increase in 2020. So yeah, things are not looking good for Portland. Banks are fleeing. Banks are fleeing. Walmart is permanently closed. It's just not good, and these people would have some things to blame. It's becoming a third world state, and I guess the only thing they can do is the locals. But the locals wanted this stuff to happen. They get what they voted for, and I don't feel a damn bit sorry for them. All right, guys, that's it for the video. Like, subscribe, share, and as always, take care.